Hello, everyone. This is Yu Tsai. Welcome to Let's Talk. And this week we are continuing our celebration of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And I'm so excited for you guys to join me because my guest entire week are Asian Americans doing their very best, inspiring so many of us out there. And today, my guest is renowned chef Niki Nakayama, owner of Michelin star restaurant here in Los Angeles, which I'm so proud to say, in Los Angeles, a Naka. Well, thank you for joining me today, Niki.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. Where are you right now so everybody knows what's going on over there?
I am at home in the section of our house we call the office. So everywhere, like we have this part just sort of like dedicated to all things and naka paperwork, usual things on the weekends.
So you are indeed about a mile away from your restaurant. I read that you live very close to work. You can just walk there.
Yes. I mean, like I tried to run there once and that was really exhausting, so I just gave that up.
Well, thank you for being here, and what an amazing opportunity to talk to you. I have admired your work in such a multiple levels as a human spirit and what you have done in your career that I've been watching and following from day one. I would love for you to share some of the stories with our listeners and viewers out there. That how did you break all those boundaries and become a Michelin star restaurant owner and a renowned chef? So let's start with being a woman in this industry. We know that it's such a male-dominated industry, being a chef. How was that like when you decided that you want to get into the industry?
I think initially I hadn't really thought too much about it, that there was an with her or anything like that. And so like maybe it was more, I felt it more when I had my own restaurant, because when you work for other people, I was lucky enough to work for chefs that were very supportive. Especially the chef that I worked with in Brentwood, Takao. He was a very supportive guy, and he was always open to teaching and always open to just sort of like allowing me to ask questions. It was when I opened my own restaurant that I felt that I was having a very hard time having people taking me seriously.
And this is the one before Anaka, or this is Anaka?
The sushi restaurant I had on Melrose Avenue, and I felt that it was very hard to gain an audience that 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 if they had such high regards for sushi, they didn't necessarily think that we were going to be that type of restaurant that could please them.
And
Huh?
and I have read that when you were in Japan and you have traveled to really study the art and of sushi, and predominantly, well, almost 99.99% of sushi chefs in Japan are men. And when you were in those places and time trying to learn, people didn't take you very seriously. They actually said that you were just playing chef. You weren't really actually going to become one. What was that like?
I think that sort of course, on the surface, being Japanese and Asian, the natural instinct is just to smile and agree and nod. But of course, inward, no, that's not true, because I think it really I use that as fuel to sort of push myself a bit more than sometimes when people tell you you can't do things, it actually serves better than when people tell you you can do everything. Because it's when people tell you you can't do things, it sort of gives you a different drive to really, really want to try harder, just to prove it to yourself, if not.
And I heard this from you before. There's a phrase called kiyashi in Japanese.
See, this is really hard because kuyashi is not associated with the specific thing that I'm talking about. It's a feeling, and it's like I've been trying to explain it to people that it's desire to prove somebody wrong, but it's the feeling you have when somebody puts you down, or say your favorite team loses and you feel this like, I can't believe we lost. That feeling is called kuyashi, and it's like this feeling of, whether it's true or not, it's not fair. It's this feeling of like, I didn't want to lose, that kind of feeling.
It's the feeling of not wanting to take defeat as the answer, I feel like that's something that is really in our core of Asian culture. Don't you feel that? It's like something that Oh, I can't hear you. Hold on one second.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, you hold it in the pit of your stomach there, and it burns, and you just want to like do something about it.
Well, it's incredible because you took that to court for sure, and then you conquered it all. But it must have been difficult, not just being a woman, but being Asian in United States and in Los Angeles, all places where food culture 10 years ago was not respected at all. In fact, we know for 10 years Michelin did not honor any stars for 10 years, and then birth of Anaka broke that mold.
I feel like on some level, I do have to say that being in LA specifically has been the most helpful in terms of my career because I don't think that we could have ever built a restaurant like Naka in Japan. I think because LA is filled with people that are so open. I mean, the people that live here are
Mm.
open, and then they're exposed to so many different cultures, and um, for the most part, people are just very welcoming of diversity. So to open a restaurant like Naka and to get the kind of support that I have, I think I've had one foot in the door already just being in LA. So I thought that was cool for me.
Well, yes, it seems like so now when we look back at it, the success that we get to see out there now and all these amazing write-ups. But I had this question, burning question, when I got to talk to you yesterday, and I was thinking about what is something that I really want to understand. That is, I feel like in the food critic world, that it seems to me that Asian food doesn't become popular or doesn't become elevated until a white Caucasian person reviews the work or gets in the kitchen and cook it. But yet when the women, Asian women or Asian men chef prepare that same exact dish or meal, it doesn't get respected. Do you feel that?
I feel like there are some cuisines where that is really, really prevalent. And I think that for Japanese food, because it's such a very refined technical style of uh, cooking in terms of like, because Japanese people obsess over every little detail of what Japanese, right? I mean, the cuts have to be perfect, the style of everything that's done. I think the level of respect that Japanese food does get is fortunately or unfortunately a little bit higher than other cuisines just because of the technical precision that is required or has it's probably more of a perception. I do notice that when non-Asian people cook Asian food, they're celebrated a lot, and it's I think it's because sort of a way of wanting to welcome different cultures into the cuisine, and I am for that. My only thing is, I really, really hope that the people who didn't necessarily grow up with this cuisine really, really take time to understand and learn it from a very deep level versus spending 6 months in the country and wanting to master a cuisine. That I think realistically, I think humility goes a long way when you're trying to understand another culture. So if you allow yourself that space to be open and uh, are open to seeing yourself less than what you're learning, it allows you to absorb more and to fully develop a certain amount of respect for it. So my hope that anyone who's doing another cultural cuisine takes the time to truly learn it very deep 6 months, but to spend years and years understanding and really appreciating why the culture does what they do with that food.
Well, we know that you have studied the art of Anaka cooking for many many years. Give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a taste and an understanding what modern kaiseki is.
Okay, so uh, generally, kaiseki is the most formal way of dining in Japanese cuisine. That it's a multiple course dinner, and it's laid out by the different cooking methods and techniques. And the goal is really honor the ingredient and also to sort of pick the best method of cooking to really highlight that ingredient. So that's what kaiseki is. The philosophy is rooted in, and of course, it's about showing your locality, all the things that are closest to you, sort of highlighting the area that you're at. So with our take, when we call it modern kaiseki, we also introduce not just traditional cooking methods, we're also introducing new methods that have come along the way that also really serves to enhance food and also serves to enhance ingredients, because the traditional way is wonderful, but then there are all these new methods that have been introduced that also really do a great job of highlighting ingredients too, and we want to be open to that. And then we also add the element of California to it, because there's so many wonderful things that come out of California that we should use to really showcase how amazing California, the land is, the food that comes out, the things that are being produced from it all. So our called modern kaiseki involves all those things.
And when you coined that term, did you find resistance in the kaiseki world of cuisine?
I think my feeling at the moment was I really believe in what I'm thinking and what I'm doing, and I really have to not be persuaded by fear, or not to let fear get to me and not move forward with this thought that I have. And I thought it's not, I do it because I respect it so much. And I feel that if people are able to overcome the idea of what I'm trying to do and actually experience what we're doing, like real physical experience of it, then they would understand more. And up until then, I'd been cooking for so many years already, like over 12 years, over 13 years. And I was like, I spent so many hours in the kitchen, like all these things, and I deserve to like create food or put food out there that is really, really, that comes from my heart, that I really believe in. So it was kind
I,
of, go for it, just do it.
well, I love that word you use, deserve, because it's so ingrained in our Asian culture that until you feel like you deserve something, you don't do it or you don't earn it. And I know you came from a really traditional family, and your brother's in a business, and your family was in the fish market business. And with all that around you, when you wanted to open a restaurant, I know there were a bit of resistance, but at the same time, they support you. That's what's funny thing about Asian culture, right? You shouldn't do that, but here's what we can do to help you. But if you fail, don't cry coming home, right? So I think that's true in among all Asian culture.
Very true. It's very true. Very true.
And when Anaka opened, when you begin to proceed in this fashion, what was the reaction from your family?
I think the reaction from my family was really positive, because they knew that I've been in the restaurant for so long, and then I finally came to this place, and I always feel so lucky because my sister has always been so supportive of the work that I do. She's like my biggest fan, and then she'll negotiate things for me with the rest of the family, just to make sure that everything's like in the right place for me. And I feel fortunate because I think up until that point, I really earned their respect in the work that I was doing and what I wanted to.
Well, you said Anaka was a slow growth. It took a little time for people to understood and learn, and you had to, in your way, educate people about this eating process, and finally had a breakthrough moment.
I feel like yes, Anaka was definitely a slow growth, because there are days when we open and we only have 2 customers. And for me, I was kind of like I was okay. I was like, if I'm gonna serve 2 customers, that's fine. I'm just gonna give these 2 people the best experience of their lives, and then hopefully that'll translate and move forward from there. But
Well, it's funny you said that you have 2 customers. Just so everybody out there listening, don't even try to think there's going to be only 2 customers in a restaurant. I personally have gone online and tried to get reservations, and the days of only 2 customers, long time ago. It is packed, and the experience is incredible. I personally have yet had the experience, but a lot of my friends have visited, and I would love for you to share a little bit about that experience. It is a course meal. It is a set course. And I know the special thing about this set course is that everybody gets their own, because you actually record every dishes that you make for every customer. So when they come back, they don't repeat what they had before.
yes, so one of our goals is initially we tried not to repeat dishes, but now where our thing is we don't repeat the menu. So because it gets a little crazy, we have people visiting us every 2 or 3 months, and it takes a long time to develop a whole menu, and then to switch out all these things about it is a little. It takes a lot more research and time, especially nowadays when we're adding so many more details and so many levels to every dish. But yes, it's a course menu. It's 13 courses. People generally say 3 hours, but I think with 13 courses, that time frame it goes by really quickly. Um, I think I think the main goal is because our space is so small, we spend a lot of effort and we concentrate on the experience right in front of you. So you'll notice a lot of dishware or pottery or ceramics or little things that we do with service pieces that are really unique, and that's part of the enjoyment too. And I think the whole purpose of these long meals is, you've had a stressful day or whatever things are happening outside in life. It's there. But hopefully when you come into our restaurant, you have a little reprieve from all that. You sort of like take in the moment just to appreciate something that our team is putting together, just to sort of bring you back to this moment of, life is crazy, but there's always good things. And hopefully you can experience that when you eat at Eno.
Well, well, Naka, definitely is a journey because you are going from one dish to another in the progression, and it's incredible to see because I watch a lot of footage of you cooking and how you're putting together the meals and presentation, and it really truly is a form of art. And I know that there's a lot of comparison in American culture about sushi versus your style of working. I love for you to educate people that what's the main difference between the two.
Of course. So sushi in and of itself is one type of food. So with naka, it's multiple kinds of cooking methods, and sushi would fall into just one category. Um, a lot of people mistakenly mix up omakase
Mhm.
and kaiseki, because omakase is just leaving it up to the chef. Omakase literally means up to you. So when a chef puts together an omakase phrase, he may be drawing on kaiseki traditions of the format of how things are served, or he just probably is serving you different things what he or she thinks is good for the day. So sushi,
So
sorry.
go ahead,
Oh,
finish that thought.
I was just saying, like, sushi omakase is just basically a bunch of different kinds of sushi put together that the chef wants to serve you that day for sushi.
So for you, the process of creating a menu for the day for the patron that comes in, and you really do have to draw on the resources of what's freshest ingredient that's possible, and then create from those fresh ingredients. So if I have happened to come in March and then come back in November, I'm going to experience a complete different journey.
Yes, for sure. Because we definitely want to highlight what the feeling is for the season. And a lot of times, when I'm outside or walking the dogs or things like that, I can't help but absorb the overall feeling in the environment of the outside. And there's this natural feeling to want to bring that inside to your dining experience. So, come autumn, there are falling leaves everywhere. So you'll probably see that reflected on the dish where like there's leaves and the colors of gold and red versus just like, maybe winter colors are going to be darker, or, it's going to be dark and light. So things like that. Sort of just a reminder that there are seasons out there that we can look
Well,
forward.
each plate is like a new canvas every single time for you. I feel like you're creating art, and when I get to watch you work, and then when I see those little details of gold flicks or just a flick of the soy sauce that splashes on the corner of the plate, to me they truly are of fine art. They're almost too beautiful to eat. How do you put together a meal that is so beautiful but yet still stay unpretentious? Because I know kaiseki is about not being pretentious with the food. So that fine line, how do you balance that?
I think we always stick to the idea that number one rule is deliciousness. Like, if I don't think it's delicious, and if it doesn't taste good, no matter what we do to it, it's not going to work. So first and foremost, deliciousness, and then everything can sort of just be an accent. Like the plating is always the afterthought of deliciousness.
Well, I love that. It's incredible, and I know that Carol is a big component of a naka, and let's talk about that a little bit. She came into the restaurant around 2 years after you opened.
Yes.
Is that right? And tell me a little bit about that journey. I know that you guys are partners and you work together. That in itself is accomplishment. You deserve a Michelin star just on that alone.
I was really nervous about having her coming into the kitchen because we had just gotten to know one another when she had come in, and she actually did it out of the kindness of her heart to help me because I'd lost one of our sous chefs. And initially, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if we could work together because I know my work style may scare a lot of people because I like all over the place, I'm not really good at talking and moving my hands at the same time sometimes. Like it's all in my head and then it's just like Tasmanian devil has just come through and like made a mess of everything. That's me. And but what was great was discovering that when Carol came in, she had the ability to sort of like maintain like sort of like, you know, allow me the space to be a Tasmanian devil and swirl through the kitchen while she sort of helps the calm afterwards. And I think it's been very helpful for the team. And we work well together in that we work on very different dishes. So there are things that she works on, there are things that I work on, and then she'll ask me what I think about how like in order to I'll give her ideas of what I think would work and then she'll work on them and then we work on it together. So there's a lot of freedom for her and it's not an over opposing voice from me all the time about like, no, you have to do it this way, this way, this way. So it's like open conversation. So
How do you balance the struggle of notoriety that you are being put into spotlight a lot, and not guys you guys kind of in this together? How does the ego get put aside and just be able to create beautiful food? That's fascinating to me because in at least in the fashion business in the world that I'm in, competition is so important. You know, everybody wants to be the best, and again, that's all trait as as an Asian American. We want to be the only Asian that's in the market, only Asian on TV, or only. How does that work in this dynamic relationship that you have?
luckily I feel that Kara and I are both very self-aware and I have no problem sharing any kind of like, you know, like putting her in the spotlight. It's a very because I understand that we're very we work very well together and I feel like people should know that it's that she's part of the effort that makes Naka what it is and I'm always happy to support it. It makes me happy when she's shining. So I don't feel like I don't feel threatened by it at all. And she's very supportive. She knows that Anaka is like a big dream of mine that I wanted to put together. So I think there's an equal amount of respect for what we're both doing, and we both see each other succeed.
Well, respect. Let's talk about respect. Let's talk about the fact that when you open a Naka, you actually cooked behind a shoji screen for a while because people did not accept the fact that there was a woman in the kitchen. And when they taste the food, they still cannot wrap their head around it. And there's always excuses. What was that like for you? And how were you able to put up with it, number one? And two, able to close that shoji screen and still cook from your heart and feed people? Because I'd be like, you don't get my food, get out.
I think actually I do like cooking behind the screen because there's so much focus and attention and like things that we need to take care of. Sometimes when it's back in the old kitchen when it was open, it's very easy to get distracted because there's a part of us that wants to keep entertaining the guests while working, and that gets a little bit hard with the amount of details that we're doing at Naka. So I actually do a lot, and I kind of think at the end of the day, no matter what happens, the work should always speak for itself. Like, who cares who's making what? It's like if the work is solid and good, I think people will embrace it and be open to it. Like, you can't deny when you put something in your mouth whether you like it or you don't, or like the whole experience of something whether you like it or you don't. And at the end of the day, when people are convinced that they've enjoyed it, it doesn't matter that the person coming out isn't memorable.
Are you still cooking behind the shoji screen now?
Oh yeah, of course. Not because we don't want to show ourselves, but because the kitchen is so crazy and hectic, it'll just ruin the whole vibe of the restaurant.
Well, interesting because when I first heard this story, it reminded me of this story about emperor in China about 3,000 years ago. Don't quote me, the historians out there. Emperor Wu, the only emperor ever was a female. And when she came to power, she actually killed her kids to get there because they were weak. She didn't want her kids to be the emperor. But when she got there and began to sit next to the emperor at the time to rule, everybody respected her, but funny enough, only behind a bamboo screen. She can only rule side by side with the emperor and advise him behind the screen. And when I heard your story, this historical image came to me, that how powerful and how amazing and the things that you're doing, the art that you're creating, yet you still had to do it behind the screen. But in the beginning, I felt like it was because you're a woman and people didn't respect you. And I understand now you make that choice. That's your choice that you want to work back there. But when I ever get a chance to come to eat there, I hope I get to see you working in the kitchen as you prepare the meals. I think that process is so beautiful. It's like watching an artist work, you know?
Thank you.
And so many things you have done in your career path and is still going, has been so inspirational to so many people. And I read a story about how you and your family are so traditional, but yet your mom walked Carol down the aisle at your wedding. I It draws so much emotion for me that I can actually cry and with joy, because in our culture, acceptance is everything and deserving is everything. Tell me about that moment. What was it like to have that whole 360 emotion with your mom?
It was really wonderful. I mean, for our wedding, my mom actually walked me down the aisle, and Tara's mom walked her down the aisle, and it was really fun to. I mean, when I think about it, it always makes me a little bit emotional because I remember telling my mom, um, "So Kara and I are thinking of celebrating our friendship in August in Hawaii, and we think you should come." And then my mom just sort of said, "So you guys are getting married?" And I was like, "Yeah, we are." And then she's like, "Okay." And I was like, "What? That's it? After all these years?" Like, after all these years when I've been so worried and had such a hard time trying to figure out what to say to you, she was very accepting. And it was sort of like the most, it felt like this heaviness from my heart had just lifted. And it was just this wonderful feeling. And then to have her walk me down the aisle in Hawaii was really a very, very special moment in my life. So,
Well, it's no, I'm lucky enough when I was born, they thought I was weird to begin with, and they never really focused on me. So whether I was gay or not, it was like, oh, he's gonna be weird. He's gonna pick one of the weird. If that's the weird, he's gonna pick. Oh well, so be it. But my sister, who's 10 years younger than me, she went through that struggle with my mom and dad because she didn't know when was the right time to come out. And I remember having this conversation with my mom when my sister was only 9 years old, and I think it was actually over a fight. And to win the fight, just said, Becky's gonna be a lesbian. That was the only way I knew how to fight. Like, you're gonna lose this fight because, and they didn't believe me. And of course, I knew, and as she grew, and by the way, she's a huge fan of your work and who you are as an individual, because she was actually the one I give her all credit to make sure that I contacted you when Let's Talk began, and she said you got to make sure you give Asian American a spotlight. You have to have her on the show and learn from her as well. So I know she's watching, and when she had to talk to my mom about the situation was very dramatic. And now years later, I do so appreciate my mom has accepted her as who she is, accepted me as who I am as well. But that takes a while for the Asian family to do so. I do have to say that it does help that she is officially Dr. Tsai, a PhD in biomedical science. So she did accomplish that part to balance out the other.
right? It does feel like that sometimes.
But we're constantly chasing for that approval in our culture. Do you feel like in the work that you do now that you're still chasing for that? Now you have a award-winning restaurant, and you have broken so many boundaries and so many no's, and now you are where you are today. Do you still find that still part of your DNA?
I feel like part of my DNA, and it'll always forever be because I always have this thinking like we any situation that we have for granted. So everything that's led up to this point to give us a good success has been wonderful, but let's not forget that there's still a lot of hard work ahead. And to maintain and to continue and to grow requires a lot more dedication and work. And yeah, I think it'll always forever feel like a challenge, which I like. And then someday when I feel like I don't want to be challenged anymore, I will retire.
Well, let's hope it's not anytime soon because my name is still on that long list of reservations. So let's make sure that's taken care of first. Well, I want to talk about a little bit about what's happening now in our world environment and how Anaka is pivoting through this time. How are you guys handling the pandemic?
Well, we've switched to takeout method and we've been focusing on bento. And the greatest thing is, I think what people may or may not be aware of is both Carol and I come from takeout background. So when we had to switch, it wasn't a very big deal for us. It was like, oh, we know what to do. We're comfortable with doing takeout. We just have to find the right um, message and the right things that sort of fit in line with what Enaka is about. Um, but we've switched now to bento takeout, and one of the things that we offer is a fair priced one that's about $38, and it comes with sushi. And I think the overall feeling was we wanted to create an experience that sort of speaks to more people than what Enaka is about, because Enaka is it's such a very particular and specialized dining experience that not everybody gets to enjoy it. So we wanted to be a lot more inclusive and sort of support the community in any way that we can.
Wow, what an awesome time for anyone out there who wants to have Michelin star restaurant quality food for a price that is it's the deal of the century, you guys. It's the deal of the century. So if you're in the community around Los Angeles, please make sure you support Anaka and order, because that's what we find out from all the food industry people I've been talking to here is like the only way to support the food industry is eat their food, order from them, eat from them, and support them. And this pivoting is actually quite interesting to me. I wonder that for restaurants like yours, Michelin star restaurants like yours, when we go back to the new normal, will you carry some of this philosophy with you?
Of course, of course. I think we're trying to figure out how we can somehow continue what we're doing now to serve a bigger community. Or I think when we go back to being able to do service in house in the way that we imagined it should be done, there's going to be a lot more room and space to work together and to find ways to support community even more. Carol and I talked about how dinners that we are making can somehow, if we can find a way to utilize some of the sales to cook more things on the other side to feed more people, that would be great. So it's a lot to think about and a lot to really work through the details, because ideas are great, but the devils are always in the details.
And
So
I'm sure part of it as an artist, because I think of you as an artist and a chef and an artist, that you don't want to compromise your artistry with your work and what you have studied so long for and executing for all these years. And I do find that very important. But at the same time, it's so amazing for all of us to be able to own a little piece of Jackson Pollock sometimes, you know? And that's I feel like with this pandemic, inclusion and accessibility has been such a topic among all restaurant owners, and I've spoken to other chefs as well, is understanding the importance of just support the community and sharing, because it really is a trickle down effect to our economy and how we begin to talk to someone and how do we feed someone and inspire them. I think I don't know if this is possible, but even a simple online course how to plate food like you do would inspire so many of us who at home, or me at least, play a chef on TV, not a real chef here, that I get to experience that with you, because it's such an art form that I look at you like an architect with building a building, and then you're building buildings that other people have never built before. And each time, and each night, you're building a new building. And then we get to eat it and it comes back all over again, but it's never exactly the same. That is exactly what's happening to our world right now. It's never going to be exactly the same. But along the way, we can try to learn from it. Along the way, we can keep on dreaming and keep on waking up every day and go back to dreaming and waking up every day and be resilient.
Right. Totally. I think our purpose is to always find the better side of this situation and sort of keep that in mind. And I know there are times when people are going to feel down, but at the end of the day, if we can find the silver lining in everything, it'll just keep us happy.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the silver lining of this pandemic for me is that be able to talk to you, because you would have been way too busy to talk to anyone, not just me, but you were just too busy. You're amazing at what you do. But one of the things I want to leave with for everyone is that in an Asian culture, that we have natural tendency to take our hands together and we bow to people. We take a tiny step back, and that's how we nod and pay respect to people. And one thing about your work, I have such an incredible memory that goes in my brain when I saw you work on different interviews and TV shows, is that you serve with an open heart and open palm rather than close hand and move back and bow. You really do present yourself with an open palm, with your heart, everything that you serve to the people at every desk, at every table, after every meal. You go and pay them respect and gratitude. That gives me the chills, and that's incredible, and that's something I am appreciative and learning as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be on this for inviting me.
Well, thank you so much. And please stay strong and stay healthy out there. And please keep on feeding us. And next phone call you're going to get is me ordering bento boxes. After this, haven't had lunch yet, so I gotta take care of that. But here's something I would love to do for you. I love when this thing's over. I love to come to you and your partner, your wife, that take a beautiful portrait of you guys together, so you can have it for yourself. That would be my gift to you for your time with me. And at the same time, maybe enjoy a meal with you as well. That would be amazing.
I would be honored. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Wow. I am so blessed and so fortunate to have today to speak to Niki Nakayama, who is a renowned chef, have absolutely influenced so many people out there, and her silent actions are louder than you can imagine, working diligently and just put her head to the grind and just working so hard and winning 2 Michelin stars at her restaurant in Naka, quietly but surely winning the race every step she goes. I can't wait to see her next journey, and I can't wait to photograph her and Carol together. And most importantly, I can't wait to experience her food. And that day will come, everyone. Well, in the meantime, thank you for joining me again here on Let's Talk. I'm so privileged to have this time with you. And please join me again tomorrow. Have a good day, everyone.